primetime last night, kind of primetime, 20-9 as we were discussing. The 49ers beat the Panthers. And the 49ers are now 8-4. The two past years that they've had injury issues, 2020 and 2024, they weren't able to overcome them. The seasons just went completely off the rails for the 49ers, and I got to give them a ton of credit. They weathered the storm, next man up. They're missing Fred Warner. They're missing Nick Bosa. They didn't have George Kittle for long stretches of the season. They've had other injuries on defense. They've had free agency losses, guys they've had to cut. Dre Greenlaw's long gone. Hufanga's long gone. And for them to be 8-4, and I know that division, the NFC West, got an easy schedule rotation this year, but so what? They're still 8-4, and they're still in it. And of all the teams that the Rams are going to have to face in the playoffs, 49ers are the one team the Rams don't want to face in the playoffs. They're the one team, the 49ers are, that could derail what seems to be an express from L.A. to Santa Clara for Super Bowl 60. And the 49ers would be extra motivated to knock out the Rams, not just to advance, but let's take down the Rams when they're having this special season. And we don't want the Rams playing in our stadium when the Super Bowl rolls around. So the 49ers just kind of quietly going about their business, defying expectations, and don't look now, but they're going to be a problem in the NFC when they get there. And at 8-4, they are getting closer and closer to punching their ticket. The Rams are going to be looking at that playoff tree, and they're going to activate every possible superstition known to mankind to avoid playing the 49ers in the postseason, Devin.
Yeah, and I think what you said and how you started for the 49ers coming into this season, it was all of the talk was like, is the window finally shut, like closed, done? And for you to now look and like, all right, the 49ers are a 4-loss team and in great position to be in the playoffs. And I think that's the thing that is always so interesting, because Dallas goes and beats Philadelphia this weekend, and it's like, well, let's everybody talk about Dallas and their chances to make the playoffs. Like, the Detroit Lions are on the outside looking in right now to get into the playoffs. And I don't think anyone doubts that the Lions will find a way to be in the playoffs, you know, between them, Green Bay, and Chicago, of sorting out that division. And then the crazy thing in the NFC right now is the wild card team is going to be that race, the NFC North and the NFC West, and figuring out those teams, and one of those teams won't be in the playoffs. And I think that's the thing, as you talk about that, and I look at the bottom of this NFC picture, it's like, how possibly could we be talking about one of these teams not being in the playoffs as well as they've played? And, you know, I think for the 49ers to even think about, Brock Purdy was out for a good point of this game. And I think the way this game started, if Brock Purdy didn't turn around, there would have been a lot of question marks leaving this game of what should the 49ers do? Brock Purdy's been out for such a long stretch. He was out, then he was in for a quick game, then he was out again. And Mac Jones has really been the guy spearheading in it. And I think in the beginning part, it was just like, all right, how does Mac Jones keep them afloat? How does he keep them relevant? But then you look up, they beat the Rams on a Thursday night game, and they're winning games, and you're like, damn, like they're still in this as much as anybody. So, you know, I think for them and for Kyle Shanahan, it's how do we push forward and now make this team not just believers in we can continue to, you know, stay relevant this season, but we can continue to make, you know, our claim for being in the playoffs and now making a playoff run, which we've seen them do before. Now it just feels different because this team's a little different. But I'm sure those guys are saying, hey, this is the year to go do it, because other than the Rams, nobody else feels great in all of football.
One of the most underrated realities of the NFL scheduling process, half of a team's game, almost, 8 of 17, almost half, are determined by this double rotation. You click, click, click every year. You click, click, click through the 4 divisions of the AFC, and you click, click, click through the other 3 divisions of the NFC, and it lines up just right, like cracking a safe. For the West this year, the NFC West, 8 of their games are against the teams of the AFC South and the NFC South. And it just lines up perfectly, and you see three teams taking up 7 playoff spots, and it creates the mad scramble for the one other playoff spot with all the other teams out there that aren't going to win their divisions. The Packers, the Lions, the Bears. Only one of those teams is likely going to make it thanks to the scheduling rotation that gives the easier schedule this year to the West. Last year, Devin, it was the North that had the click, click, click land just right. AFC South teams and the NFC West in a relatively down year for that division. 8 of your games, winnable. 8 of your games, your record gets inflated and you take up 3 playoff spots. So is it really fair? That's not for me to decide, but it doesn't reflect and doesn't induce parity. It's just this, and it's not random, it's deliberate, but it's random in how those divisions line up, and the planets lined up for the NFC West this year. So it's looking like Rams, Seahawks, 49ers heading to the playoffs. In a year where the Rams seem to be the class of the conference, hey, who's giving them the hardest time this year? Seahawks should have beaten them 9 days ago. Rams escaped that one. 4 picks of Sam Darnold, they still almost lost the game, and they lost to the 49ers. So it just makes for a great run down the stretch to see who gets spot number 7, but it's also going to make things very interesting. The Rams may face both the Seahawks and the 49ers as they try to get to the Super Bowl this year, but that last spot, very, very wide open, and the Panthers hurt their opportunity. They could have muscled in. They could have gotten themselves in position to get that 7th playoff spot. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.